All right, get those hiking boots ready, folks. Today, we're heading to Austria. That video, wow, talk about a visual treat. Waterfalls, castles, it's like stepping into a postcard. But it also got me thinking, there's got to be more to Austria than just stunning scenery,
Well,
right?
absolutely. Austria often gets overshadowed, by its neighbors, but trust me, this country is a treasure chest of hidden gems, both natural wonders and things people have built. It's all incredible.
Okay, you've piqued my interest. I'm always up for a good treasure hunt, metaphorically speaking, of course.
And that's what this deep dive is all about, unearthing those fascinating facts and stories that make Austria truly one of a kind. More than just a list of places, we're talking those, wait, really, details you can bust out at your next party.
I do love having those up my sleeve.
Yeah.
Now, the video kicked off with that fun fact about Austria's national dish, which I have to admit I'm drawing a blank on.
Wiener Schnitzel. Ring any bells?
Ah, yes, of course. But honestly, what really caught my attention was the fact that they're recycling superstars. 63% of their waste gets recycled. That's insanely good.
It speaks volumes about their dedication to sustainability. And it's not just about recycling. Austria is a real powerhouse when it comes to renewable energy. Those majestic Alps.
Yeah, they're not just for show, they're a source of hydropower, and then some.
It's like they've got nature's power grid right there. Makes you wonder, is this a growing trend in Europe, this whole push for greener energy?
Oh, absolutely. It's a wave sweeping across the continent, but Austria is riding it high. They're showing the world that a strong economy and a healthy environment, totally doable.
Right, so not only is Austria easy on the eyes, but they're eco-conscious too. Double points. But let's dive into those natural wonders that really stole the show in the video. First up, the Krimml waterfalls. The roar, the mist, Europe's largest waterfall. It sounds epic.
And it's not just about the size. The Krimml waterfalls have the distinct honor of being the only natural monument in Austria to receive the European diploma.
Okay, now that sounds impressive. European diploma, what exactly is that? It's a huge deal, a very prestigious award that recognizes a place's unique ecological and geological significance. Only a select few places in all of Europe have it.
So it's like winning an Oscar for natural wonders, basically.
Exactly.
Okay, so we know it's not just a pretty waterfall, it's a big deal. Speaking of breathtaking views, the video also mentioned the Galling waterfall. Nestled in a forest, 2 cascades, it sounds so serene.
It's that perfect blend of serenity and power that makes Austria's landscapes so captivating. And speaking of powerful, we have to talk about Großglockner, Austria's highest peak. We're talking a titan of the Alps.
Oh yeah, Großglockner. The video mentioned some pretty cool myths and legends surrounding it. It's amazing how nature can inspire those kinds of stories.
Isn't it? And beyond the legends, it's a mountaineer's dream. A challenging climb, sure, but the reward is an experience of a lifetime.
You know, what always gets me about these natural wonders is how they remind us just how much is out there. It's humbling and awe-inspiring at the same time.
Absolutely. It puts things into perspective.
And speaking of awe-inspiring, did you see that footage of Gruner See? That lake that changes color with the seasons? Come on, that's straight out of a fantasy novel.
It's magical, isn't it? One day you're strolling through a meadow, the next it's submerged in this incredible emerald green water.
Do we know what causes that? Is it algae or something to do with the mountains?
It's mainly the snowmelt. When the snow melts from the Hochschwab Mountains in the spring, it fills the basin and boom, you've got this underwater world. Then by winter, the water recedes and the meadow reappears.
That's wild. It's like nature's playing hide and seek. Before we move on, we got to talk about the Pasteuri Glacier. It's shrinking, right? Climate change rearing its ugly head again.
Unfortunately, yes. The Pasteurials, like many glaciers around the world, is feeling the heat, literally. The video mentions something called a massif a couple of times when they were talking about glaciers. What is that exactly?
Yeah, that went over my head too.
Think of it like this. A massif is essentially a mountain range, a group of mountains all connected at the base. The Hohe-Tauern Range, where you find both Großglockner and the Pasteurs Glacier, is a prime example of a massif.
Okay, so it's like a whole family reunion of mountains. And speaking of impressive structures, let's talk castles. Austria seems to have a fairy tale fortress around every corner.
It's true, and each one has its own story to tell, steeped in centuries of history. Emperors, battles, you name it, these castles have seen it all.
Let's start with Hohenwerfen Castle. Perched on a hilltop overlooking the Vienna woods, this one just screams strategic importance. Why were the Vienna woods so important back in the day?
Think of them as a lifeline. Controlling the Vienna woods meant controlling the timber, wildlife, trade routes, you name it. Hohenwerfen Castle was like a medieval checkpoint.
Wow, I had no idea. So if I thought Hohenwerfen sounded impressive, wait till you hear about Hohensalzburg Fortress. This thing is the largest fully preserved castle in all of Central Europe. Fully preserved. Are we talking original stone, the works?
Pretty much. Hohensalzburg is incredibly intact, offering a glimpse into what life was like within those walls centuries ago.
Okay, I'm adding that to my bucket list right now. And speaking of must-sees, we can't forget about Melk Abbey. It's even got that UNESCO World Heritage status. What makes this abbey so special?
Melk Abbey is a masterpiece of Baroque architecture. We're talking grandeur, opulence, dramatic lighting, intricate details. It's designed to inspire awe and wonder, and it definitely delivers.
It sounds incredible. And from one grand abbey to another, Go Abbey also sounds impressive. The video mentioned something about an imperial staircase and a fresco.
Imagine walking up this grand staircase, and every step you take, you're surrounded by these vibrant frescoes. It's a story unfolding as you ascend, a testament to the abbey's wealth and influence.
Now, that's what I call an entrance. And finally, before we jump into other Austrian adventures, we got to talk about Schloss Ort. Perched right on Lake Tronsee, it looks like something out of a dream.
Schloss Ort is unique. It's now a study center for the Federal Ministry for Land and Forestry.
That's so cool. Giving new life to an old building, I love that. And speaking of Lake Tronsee, did you know it's Austria's lowest lake? Quite a contrast from those towering peaks.
It really shows you the incredible variety of landscapes in Austria. From mountains to lakes, there's something for everyone.
So to recap, we've got stunning waterfalls, a color-changing lake, a shrinking glacier, and some seriously impressive castles. And we're just getting started.
We've got a lot more ground to cover, so buckle up as we continue our deep dive into the heart of Austria.
You know, it's amazing how Austria can have these grand castles and mountain peaks, but then you zoom in and there are these charming little villages tucked away everywhere.
It's that blend of the rugged and the idyllic that makes Austria so unique.
Totally. Speaking of which, the video mentioned this village, Heiligenblut. The name alone. It sounds like something out of a fairy tale. High up in the Hohe National Park, it must be stunning.
It's a testament to how adaptable people are, building a life up there with Großglockner right there in your backyard.
I can only imagine waking up to that view. But it must come with its own set of challenges, living in such a remote place. What's it like for the people who call Heiligenblut home?
It's interesting. Life in those high-altitude villages often revolves around a deep respect for nature, a strong sense of community. There's certain peacefulness that comes with that slower pace of life.
You're making me want to pack my bags and go experience it firsthand. But for now, let's jump from the mountains to the town of Grimmenden, famous for its salt spas.
Grimmenden. Salt, it's more interesting than people realize. Today it's all about relaxation and spas, but back in the day, salt was incredibly valuable, even used as currency in some cultures.
Wait, really? Salt? That's wild. Okay, so a trip to Grimmenden is basically a history lesson and a spa day all in one. I'm there. From relaxing spas, the video took us to Tronkirchen, an artist's haven, they called it.
There's something about certain places that just attract creative people, the light, the surroundings, or maybe just a change of scenery. Some places just spark that inspiration.
It makes you wonder what it is about those places. Like, what is it about Tronkirchen that draws artists in?
Maybe it's the combination of the lake, the mountains, that small town vibe.
It's got to be something special. And speaking of special, we got to talk about Hallstatt. I mean, a salt mine, A&D, a picture-perfect lake, all in one place.
Hallstatt's a great example of how important natural resources are to shaping a place. That salt mine wasn't just salt, it was their livelihood. It shaped their traditions, their whole way of life.
It's crazy to think how something like salt could have such a huge impact. And speaking of hidden gems, the video mentioned this spot. Lake Gossau, perfect for adventurers, especially those into something called Via Ferratas. Now, I have to admit, I don't know what that is.
Okay, picture this. You're clinging to a sheer rock face hundreds of feet up. Steel cables and rungs, that's between you and the drop. That's a Via Ferrata. It's like a protected climbing route, so you get the thrill of rock climbing, but with a little extra safety.
Oh, wow. Okay. That sounds both exhilarating and utterly terrifying. I can see why Lake Gossau, with that dramatic scenery, would be a Via Ferrata hotspot. But for those of us who like to keep our feet firmly on the ground, let's talk about the Spiegel Sea.
Ah, yes. The Mirror Lake, they call it. For obvious reasons.
Seriously, that reflection. The Dachstein Mountains, perfectly mirrored in the water. It's almost too much. How does it even work? Does the water have magical properties?
Haha, not quite. It's a few things. You need super calm, clear water, for one, and the surroundings are key. With the Spiegelsees, you've got those towering peaks and minimal wind down in the valley. It all comes together to create that mirror effect.
It's incredible. Nature, the artist. And speaking of the Dachstein Mountains, did you know they're also home to a whole network of caves?
The Dachstein Caves are another world entirely. Stalactites, stalagmites, underground lakes. It's like stepping back in time. It took thousands of years for the water to carve out those caves.
Underground lakes, you say? Okay, now those are some caves I could get behind exploring. Speaking of stepping back in time, we can't forget about the Eckensie Steam Cog Railway.
Talk about a blast from the past.
That steam train chugging along Lake Eckensie, pure vintage charm. You can practically smell the coal when you hear that whistle blowing. The video described Lake Eckensie as fjord-like. Fjords in Austria. Who knew?
Right. It just goes to show you how diverse the landscapes are in Austria. From mountains and glaciers to valleys and these stunning fjord-like lakes, they've got it all.
It's true. Okay, before we wrap things up, we got to talk about Gastein Valley. From the sounds of it, it's a hiker's paradise.
Picture this. You hop on a cable car, and you're whisked up over 2,300 meters right into the heart of the Hohe-Tauern National Park. Welcome to Gastein Valley.
Okay, cable car, I'm sold. And then what? You're surrounded by all this amazing scenery.
Absolutely. Peaks, glaciers, alpine meadows, you name it, Gastein Valley has it in spades. It really drives home the importance of preserving these places.
I couldn't agree more. And speaking of breathtaking creations, both natural and man-made, we have to talk about Schlegeis-Stausee. This one blew my mind a little bit. A reservoir, man-made, but still incredibly beautiful. How is that even possible?
It's all about finding that harmony between human ingenuity and nature. Schlegeis-Stausee is proof that we can harness nature's power without sacrificing its beauty.
It's a delicate dance, that's for sure. But when it works, the results are incredible. From a testament to human ingenuity, let's move on to a testament to family legacies. Guessing Castle, this one had me floored.
Guessing Castle is one for the books, owned by the same family for over 500 years. Can you imagine?
500 years. Seriously, the stories those walls could tell, it makes you think about everything that's happened in the world during that time. This castle has stood there through it all.
It's a testament to the power of history, of legacy, of preservation.
It really is. And speaking of preserving history, our last stop takes us to the Wachau Valley, a place so historically and culturally significant it earned a UNESCO World Heritage designation.
The Wachau Valley is like stepping into a storybook. Vineyards, historic monuments, charming villages, all with those iconic Danube River views.
The video mentioned wineries, Gothic churches, medieval castles, rolling vineyards. It's almost overwhelming.
In the best way possible. It's an experience that engages all your senses.
I'm telling you, after this deep dive, Austria is going straight to the top of my travel bucket list.
Yeah.
Mountains, glaciers, lakes, castles, they've got it all.
It's the country that surprises you, you know? You go in with certain expectations and then it's like, bam! Austria throws you a curveball in the best way possible.
Totally. It's like they say, expect the unexpected.
Yeah.
Yeah, Austria definitely embodies that. I'm still blown away by their commitment to sustainability, by the way. It's really inspiring.
It's a good reminder that economic growth and environmental responsibility don't have to be at odds. In fact, they can work in tandem.
100%. As we wrap up our Austrian adventure, I'm curious, what was your biggest takeaway? What stuck with you?
For me, it's the history, I think. Those castles, the abbeys, those villages nestled in the mountains, they're not just pretty pictures. They're reminders of the past, and they make history come alive.
That's so true. It's like you said earlier, it's more than what's in the textbooks. It's all around us.
Exactly. And who knows, maybe this deep dive will inspire some of our listeners to experience Austria for themselves.
I hope so. There's nothing quite like experiencing a new place firsthand. All right, folks, that's a wrap on our Austrian adventure. Until next time, keep exploring.